The biggest thing this week is to wrap all this around your plan for your project that you've come up with. And so the top level buckets give us that structure for the plan. What I want to do now is let's focus on how we take these top level buckets and break it into something that would be appropriate for your plan. And again, that work breakdown structure is key. It doesn't have to be something that leads into a specific Gantt chart. You don't have to go into a tool. There's no need to use anything more than just plain old Microsoft Word. It could be a picture. It could be a table. It could just be bullet points inside of there. It's not a text description. It needs to be specific, granular tasks that come up. But don't get stuck into big tools and how do I build it here or there. You use whatever's appropriate, what you're familiar with. And so there's some demonstrated ways we can look at, but it doesn't need to. I mean, we're just going to do it in Microsoft Word right now. You get Google Doc, whatever the tool you want to do, give them text editor, that's fine. You use the tool that's appropriate for you. You do not have to go into anything super specific for what you got going on. So to that end, we have the template here. The integration and deployment phase, phase 5, we're going to fill in something here. Again, the idea is to be specific. So what can we do? Well, one of the simple options is let's start with a bullet point. But where does the bullet point data come from? Well, again, those high-level tasks might be a good place to start. The high-level tasks we can see just from the assignment. So for this, again, for this task, we're going back to week 1, 2, 3, 4. We're filling in, we're fixing stuff along there. But from week 5, you can see the overall work breakdown structure. They want these 7 tasks, the one we went through a little bit earlier and talked about those details. So we can start with these bullet points, and we could paste these in here as the appropriate tasks. Now, these are not the tasks themselves. These are the structure for the tasks. These 7 bullet points inside of there needs to have stuff filled in underneath them. So the first thing I can do is put down a sub bullet point underneath each one of these, which then we're going to fill in. As a guide to you, we can go back to the description here. It says 2 to 3 new pages, 10 to 15 pages total. So you should not have a 1-page work breakdown structure. This is one of the rare cases where I can say if you put enough detail out here, it should speak for itself. So you can get a page and a half, 2 pages of this, of tasks from each one of these 7 spots. So let's just say for 2 pages, let's do 2.1 pages. That means we have divide by 7, that we have 0.3 page, so a third of a page basically on each one of these items to get done there. So a third of a page, 8.5 by 11 inches, so 11 inches with the header and stuff inside of there. So we're looking at roughly, let's say there's 10 inches on 2 pages, 7 of them, so 20 pages, so basically 3 inches. Basically 3 inches for each one of these, if you want to break it down in that way. That's nothing towards the real world task of work breakdown structures. These are as big as they are. For a project that lasts 6 weeks, you might have a 3-page one. For a project that lasts 6 months, you might have a 30-page one. It all is based off of the level of detail you put in, the size of your project, the complexity of the project, the amount of rows you need to put inside of here. So again, preliminary analysis, let's talk about the types of things we want to do. So we can talk about the initial project plan, might be a task inside of there. We can talk about the project charter. We can have a charter. We can have a JAD session with, not just JAD session in general, who are you having the JAD session with? With customers. JAD session with business. Again, this is based off of your project. Now, this preliminary one, they're going to be a little bit fuzzier. They're going to be a little bit higher level. They're going to be more common across them. But as we go down further, they should be much more specific. So from there, we want to be able to do some more details. Now, if you're truly doing a waterfall model, it becomes very complicated to do the appropriate level of details. That's one of the downsides of the waterfall model, is you wouldn't necessarily know what are the different pieces of the system we're going to be capturing here. So for the analysis and requirements definition, we wouldn't necessarily be able to do this, but we could say write use cases And we should be taking some guess at what these are. So I could say we could have the search product inventory. Then we can say checkout products. Checkout shopping cart. Let's go. Guess what? Whatever this list is, you have from phase 1. Hopefully, you've done use cases, or you certainly have from phase 2, where you created a use case diagram. So if you have 5 of them, you have 7 of them, you list them right here. However you have, this is from phase 2 use case diagram. Now, earlier we talked about the other things that go in here. There's other items that would just go inside of here, but the point I'm trying to go across is that we want to put this level of specificity. We do the same thing in the design. So the design now is architecture. And maybe we have some specific pieces inside of that. So we could have the system breakdown, the interface design, different pieces that happen. So there, and then we have design. Now, what are the pieces and the components inside of here? We could do it at many different levels. So we could have the public-facing sales site. We have the admin site. And maybe we break this down a little bit further. Maybe the public-facing sales site's pretty small. There's not a lot going on, but the admin site could be user management. Could be product management. So on and so forth. Again, you need to be specific to your product. So maybe you're not selling stuff on your website. Maybe you're not building a website. Maybe you're building a a game that allows you to take pictures of types of food and have people vote on it, and the winner moves on. And so your piece, your design would be the public site for food entries. And then you'd have the public site for the food judging. So those are 2 different areas. That's what you could be doing. Again, I'm trying to make this up as I go. I don't know if anybody's doing a game like that. Maybe I just created the hottest new game and just here, but I don't think I did. But the point being is this is specific all the way down. And I'm going to keep going through and put it out here at this point. You should be able to get the ideas. Based off of the video that was there before, we have each one of these categories: preliminary analysis, the system analysis, system design, development. Each of these categories, you should take the process element, high level, fill it in with the types of tasks, and expand those types of tasks to be specific to your project. You can see here, I've already got in this place, with a lot of ... inside of here, a lot of stuff I could fill in, I've got about a half a page. Not quite, but about a half a page. Again, there should be much more, but it shouldn't take too terribly insanely long to come up with these specific pieces. I'm not expecting you to spend 30 hours on this week. I'm expecting you to spend 3 hours on this week, but certainly give it a good hour. Think of different tasks you can fill out. Now, this is one format for this. It's a very simple format for this. It's not necessarily a useful format except for maybe an initial look at this. You certainly could use a table like we talked about in the structure last week, in which case you may or may not want to do this hierarchically. So you could choose to instead insert a table where I have, probably 4 or so, but you would have your task, you would have your effort, you would have your dependency, and you would have your resource that would go on inside of here. This would be more accurate to what a work breakdown structure would be capturing in total. If you submitted what was up above to your project manager, they'd be like, great, I have the tasks. How long would it take for each one of these? How long is it going to take you to design the admin site user management feature? What is that dependent on? Oh, so I need to get the use case finished beforehand. And then who's going to be working on this? You're going to be working on it, or somebody else going to be working on it? We're going to be doing that offshore. What's the reality of that? That's what you'd more typically see in a work breakdown structure. I don't necessarily need to see it. I'm not going to be judging whether you pick the right resource. I don't need to. I mean, I can take a guess at what the dependencies are, but you might have a different view of that. But I just want you to see the different formats. Tie it back into what we saw last week. This time, what I'd like to see is more with maybe a little bit less detail. What I really would like to see is those 7 top-level tasks with some clear tasks underneath them and some clear specificity from your project. I should be able to look at this work breakdown structure and have a good guess at what you are building. So as a test for this, if somebody, find somebody who's never seen your project before, show them this list of tasks and see what they can tell you about what your product does. Without reading the requirements, without looking at the design, see if there's some level of detail that they can take a good guess here. Not everything. This is just a first level cut and we're not providing a lot of the details, but that should be a measuring stick for, are you putting the right pieces in here with enough information? All right, so that is your task. Don't forget to go back and clean up anything from phase 1, 2, and 3, and 4. This last assignment is cumulative of everything. You don't get all the points based off of this piece alone. You get maybe 20 or 30% of the grade based off of this piece alone, because you don't get the points for the whole class, but then this little extra piece that's on top of it for week 5 out of the 5 weeks we're doing. So best of luck. Good luck. There's a little bit wrap up after this if you care to go check that out, but this is the assignment and this is what you're asked to do to wrap up this class.